Hey, welcome to another episode. And today I'm here with Nick and Kellen from Apricot Law. And we're going to be diving deep into all things local marketing, all things SEO, and all things what you can do to drive not only leads and sales in your business, but also build an asset in terms of how you structure your website and everything that you do to your website so you can have an asset that works for you every single day, every single week, month, and year. And it's a topic that I literally know very, very, very little about. And it's a topic that I unfortunately have ignored for the longest time. But I know how important it is. And when you combine things like SEO, things like what you're doing from a point of view, from a local marketing point of view, when you combine that thing with advertising for your business and everything else, you can achieve tremendous results. And in my mind, there's no better than Apricot Law for driving results when it comes to SEO and everything else in between. So, guys, I'm so happy to have you on here. Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to dive in and really grill you guys as much as possible.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
So, first of all, before we kind of dive into deep into the world of local marketing, SEO, map listings and all that stuff that I know nothing about. Like how like tell us a little bit about the business and how you first got started, how you first met, and everything else in between.
Yeah, it's definitely a long story, but back in pre 2011, I was in the restaurant business with my family, so a long way away from internet marketing, more old school traditional marketing and business, brick and mortar, if you will. So, but at the time, I was managing the restaurant, and I picked up a book on SEO and getting more traffic to our website through Google, and just by kind of teaching myself through these various courses that I bought and YouTube videos and whatnot, I was able to rank the restaurant's website for Greek restaurant nationally. So it was a big term. Wow. And it was like a proof of concept for me. It was working. It was really exciting. My wife at the time, we got married right when the restaurant opened, so that's another story. But she said that she never saw me so into anything before in my life. I was up all night, kind of trying to figure things out and see how things worked. But fast forward to the end of the restaurant career, we had a new restaurant with new partners, and it kind of didn't go well. So we got out of that situation, and I decided at that point that I wasn't going back to the restaurant business. So I left the restaurant to my family, to my mom and my dad, and my brother were still there. But I decided to leave and to. So I had two young kids at the time, so I had to figure something out.
Got to put food on the table, right?
Yeah, I got to put food on the table. And the reason I left was there just wasn't that much. It just wasn't a good business model. Like, expenses were going up. There was a lot of people involved in the restaurants. So there just wasn't, it wasn't a good business model. I didn't think it didn't have the longevity I was looking for to support my family. So that was probably a good time, since the kids were little, to venture out and do something else. And so I took that skill that I learned of SEO and ranking websites, and I signed my first client, which was the restaurant's attorney. So that's how I was introduced into the legal marketing space. She helped us get our liquor license, so she was a very specialized attorney, and I was able to help her get new business from the internet for restaurants looking for liquor licenses. Very specialized niche, but it went well. It was a little website that I built for her. She's still with us today, about 11 years later. But that was the first digital marketing client that I had back in the day when I left the restaurant business and I went into this full time. From there, I had a couple of, I always learned that the best SEOs in the world, they test. They don't just like listen to, blogs or what people are saying online about what's working or what's not. They actually have test sites so that they can see how Google responds to certain inputs. And I had a test site that was meant to rank for the term New York City or NYC car accident lawyer. And the reason why I picked that site and that niche or that market to go into, aside from having a client in law already, was because the cost per click in AdWords for those terms were so very high. Even back then, it was hundreds of dollars for
Yeah.
each visitor that Google sent you. So I figured if I could rank those for those terms, I could pretty much rank for anything. And also, I saw a very valuable service for attorneys that were, wanting traffic, the best traffic, and I guess we'll get into that a little later. But it's the best traffic you can possibly get, and they didn't have many alternatives. They were either going to pay Google tens of thousands of dollars every month, or figure out how to do it organically through SEO so that it would be a lot less of a cost for the same traffic. The next step was, I was able to rank for NYC Car Accident Lawyer with those test sites. And I leveraged a couple of those test sites, and we got our first personal injury client in the space in New York City, to work exclusively with us, and us with them. And they've been ranking for that term, for the better part of the last decade. And it's one of our best success stories. The guy's still with us today, Greenstein and Milbauer in New York City, based out of Harlem. They rank in the top 3 today for NYC Car Accident Lawyer. And they're having their best month ever, time and time again. So very proud of it. I was able to take something that I learned and turned it into a business. As long
Brilliant.
story short.
So you mentioned something, and I'd like to actually just accelerate a bit and actually jump into it. So you mentioned the best traffic source. So why do you think that for law firms, something like local marketing, SEO, and everything that entails is the best traffic source, not only for all local businesses, but for law firms specifically?
Yeah, for law firms, even more so than others. But I'll say that it's non-intrusive marketing. It's people that are actually looking for your goods and services. So it's not like Facebook ads or any other form of intrusive marketing where you're interrupting their normal whatever they're doing. If they're scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, or any of these other social sites, or an email, you're trying to interrupt what they're normally doing with those forms of marketing. Whereas, and that's a much harder sell, because you're taking somebody that doesn't really know you or your services. Maybe they don't even know they have a problem, and you're trying to sell them on, hey, you have this problem and we can solve it, as opposed to, there are these people on Google on search looking for specifically for what you offer.
Yeah,
So just that
I
frame of
always
mind
say
is
it's the,
strong.
like, with things like AdWords, yes, but more so with things like SEO. When you are ranking and someone is searching in Google, you're meeting them at that point of pain. Like they have a pain point that they're searching for a solution to, and yes, you can sometimes meet them at that point of pain with something like Google AdWords. But if you're like, a lot of people would bypass ads all completely because they see them as what they are, which is just ads. But when you meet them and you're the first, second, third, or fourth search result, like yourselves being the SEO guys, like that's what's getting the majority of the traffic, and you're meeting them at the point of the pain. And if you have it done right, which I'm sure we will dive into, like in terms of what done right looks like, but when you have it done right and you're meeting them at that point of pain, like it makes it so much easier. It makes it their sales threshold, or their barrier to sale is so much lower, because they're the ones searching for you versus you going out there and trying to annoy them on Facebook or annoy them on another platform.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right.
So what are some of the things when it comes to local marketing for law firms and SEO, or for local marketing in general, like what are some of the do's and the do nots in terms of how you work with guys?
So I think I want to pass this along to Kellen, and if I could, I'll just give a little brief, introduction of Kellen.
Of course.
Kellen
Kellen's
is
sitting there in the wings. He's just waiting to jump in and share some magic.
And it's relevant more to him than me. I know the answer, of course, but I think that Kellen is the one who works with our clients day in and day out. So when you're, Kellen's been with us for, I think, what is it, Kellen? 7 years?
Yeah, almost 7 years. Yeah.
6, 7 years.
Yep.
So he's been with us for probably the longest in terms of somebody that's worked for us or with us. And just recently, he's been made an equity shareholder of Apricot Law.
Fantastic.
So you're not only dealing with an account rep, you're dealing with an owner of the company as well, and he's your point person when these clients come onto us. He'll be your point person. So I think that's so super important because you're not dealing with just an account rep that doesn't really know what's going on. He's the one who's you're talking to, you're telling Kellen, you're relaying your goals for the firm to Kellen, and he's the one that's tailoring the strategy just for you. No one else. It's not cookie cutter. It's, what do you want to do and how can we get there? And then he's taking that to the team. So he's your liaison between you and the team and making sure that the work is getting done as well. So it's really a hard job.
So Kellen basically does everything in the business, and you're just relaxing.
He does a lot. No, I'm not relaxing, but I am in the day to day as well. But Kellen is the one that is like at the crux of what you want, and then he has to go and get that done with the team, which is the team is great, but Kellen's the point person. So Kellen, if you can answer. I think we lost the original question there. I went on and on about you, but
that's okay. I can pick it up there. That's perfect. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So local rankings, do's and don'ts. There's a ton in either direction, but I would say the biggest problem that I run into with clients when they're trying to rank in the map pack, which is the top 3 map results. That's what the local rankings are. Biggest pitfall is not getting consistent reviews. There's all kinds of stuff that we do behind the scenes to optimize your Google business profile, to send signals via the website, via social profiles, stuff like that, to make sure that everything is working together harmoniously and that everything is set up to rank. But reviews are really the gasoline that you dump on the fire to get the machine working for you. And so a lot of people will go through spurts where they'll get 15 reviews, and then they'll go a month or two where they're just getting 1 or 2 or something like that. So consistency in reviews, quantity in reviews, that stuff is super important. You just got to keep that steady flow of gasoline on the fire to show Google that you're here in the marketplace, that you're an authority, because lots of people are reviewing your business and leaving you good reviews. So obviously you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So something that we discussed briefly off camera was this notion of website nutrition, and that really kind of piqued my interest. So when it comes to law firms and local marketing, what do you mean by website nutrition? Because you kind of mentioned it, and we just kind of went into the recording. So when it comes to website nutrition specifically for law firms, what is that, and why is it so important?
Yeah, just like we are what we eat in terms of, how healthy we are as people. It's the same exact concept with a website. Now more than ever as well. So if you're putting, low quality content or low quality links, like other sites that are linking to you that you buy by the dozen, just so you get the number of links up, then it's like somebody living on fast food. It's not gonna go very well for you for very long.
Tastes good for 5 seconds, but it makes you feel like crap after.
Yeah, right. It might be a quick win, or it might help you in the very short term. But in the long term, we're looking to build an asset for you, and I think that that's what other agencies miss. And I think that a lot of law firms in general, they don't look at their site as they should, which is as a business asset. We've had multiple clients that have either split with their partners or formed new companies, and when they're negotiating that split, the website is a big part of that, because if the website is on autopilot driving leads to your business and is a great source of business for you, that's a tremendous asset that you can give to the next person up in your life, in your company. So if you're, later on, if you're giving it to your son or something like that, or you want to get out and retire and you want to give it to the next person in line, it's important that you've been feeding that site, some good nutrition over the years, so that it's like long-term, trustworthy in Google's eyes, and it kind of, it's protected from the ups and downs of Google's algorithm, essentially, because when a lot of the Google algorithms deal with this low quality stuff that people do. So yeah, that's why internally we've been calling it website nutrition, because I think it's like the perfect analogy or metaphor for a website.
If you're watching this show and you're an online business owner, one of the best things you can do is leverage evergreen scaling to finally make paid advertising profitable for you. It allows you to consistently scale your products, services, or offers in a way that other methods simply don't. If you're not currently turning paid advertising into new leads and sales every single day, you're likely missing out on untapped revenue and profits in your business. So if you want to get more leads and get more sales consistently and predictably, my advice is to start leveraging evergreen scaling in your paid ads ASAP. Now, obviously, you don't need to be doing everything yourself. We can absolutely do it all for you. And if that's something that you'd like to find out more about, you can go to e5agency.com/CFN. You'll see exactly how we're helping multi-six-figure and seven-figure businesses acquire new leads and sales daily using our evergreen scaling system. You can visit e5agency.com/CFN for full details.
Love it, yeah. So one other thing that that I'm painfully aware of, like I used to work a lot with local businesses, and a lot of the businesses that I worked with, I never worked with law firms, but a lot of the businesses that I worked with, they'd always, like, for whatever reason, they're stuck in the Stone Age. Like they don't want to they see digital marketing as either this crazy complicated thing that they'll never get, or even though, like, whether they get it or not, like, they have to absolutely be doing it, which is why agencies exist and fantastic guys like you exist to help them. But they have this notion that the old way is the best way, and they're not willing to, get with the times and adapt to the fast changing world of advertising and marketing. And something you said, like, your website is an asset. Like, there's nothing more true than that, because you can run a radio ad, or you can run a once-off newspaper ad, and is it really an asset? Like, potentially, if you have the system behind it to facilitate that newspaper ad getting calls or whatever the case may be. But it's like the days of relying on those things, I think, are few and far between. But for whatever reason, I found that local businesses in the past struggled to adapt to the digital marketing world. And if that's is that similar with you guys? And if it is, like, why do you think that is? And how do you help your firms that you're working with kind of get over that battle?
Yeah, I'll let Kellen talk about the what he sees from clients in that respect and their mindset of going from old school marketing to digital marketing. But something that you said really sparked something, is that all these other platforms that you're getting traffic from, they can be turned off in an instant. Like, you don't own that traffic. So you could, some of the biggest YouTubers in the world are demonetized for no reason, or Facebook cancels your ad account, as I'm sure you've heard in the industry. It's a nightmare. Like, your livelihood in those cases is reliant on someone else's property. So with website nutrition and making sure that you're treating your site like an asset, it's really bringing that traffic into your own world so that you own that traffic. So no matter what happens on these other sites, you're building something that you own, that is insulated from any of these, whatever other companies are decide to do with their algorithm or with their platform. But in terms of the mindset of old school to new school, we've seen that a lot of people coming from, billboard advertising, radio, TV, and then they're getting into digital. The other thing I'll say before I pass it to Kellen is that's why it's so important to start small with whatever you can do, and to be kind of feeding and investing in your site in the long term. So even if it's $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month that you decide to put aside, like a savings account, where you're over time, it'll compound and get bigger and better over time. Even if you're not ready and, you're kind of scared of the future and, you're not tech savvy, there are ways where you can get involved or you can feed your site in a healthy way over time, kind of like on the back end, set it and forget it, just like contributing to an IRA or something like that. But Kellen, what about you in terms of like mindset with that?
Yeah, we there's several ways to skin a cat, but a lot of people just use like the same, they're going to skin the cat the same way that they learned how to originally for as long as they can. Cause like we know what we know. So a lot of people have been doing radio, billboards, TV, stuff like that for decades. So it's hard to break that habit. It's hard to like get into something new that you don't fully understand, especially when you're spending $10,000 a month on it, or, it's not a small expense for the business. So, so yeah, it's a big hurdle. It's typically, attorneys that have been around for a long time, or, are like a third generation attorney at the firm or something like that, that are kind of like trying to dip into the digital marketing space to bring the firm into kind of like a new era. And we work with firms like that all the time. There's at least 5 or 6 just off the top of my head that work with us now that are purely doing digital and have totally gotten away from all of that stuff. And it's just become, it's much more lucrative. It's, what ranking your site organically with that good nutrition that Nick was talking about and ranking you locally, you're able to drive the cost per acquisition down significantly than just, paying out money for commercials and the price goes up, every single year. It's just getting more and more expensive. And then you want to get a Super Bowl ad placement, and that's a small fortune. Whereas, the cost per acquisition with organic SEO just like continues to go down the further along in the process you get with that like compounding interest that Nick was talking about. So yeah, it's a struggle, and those conversations are hard, to sort of like, get the older generation to like buy into the digital marketing. And for me to explain to them why this works, I have to do a lot of screen sharing and show them examples and let them talk to other attorneys that we work with so that they can kind of understand what their experience was. And then they usually come on board and are happy with the result. It's just, it's definitely a hurdle because we don't know what we don't know. It's a human nature thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I was working with local businesses, I used to have this battle a lot. I'm like, I'm not saying for 1 minute that radio advertising doesn't work or billboard doesn't work or newspaper doesn't work. They do work, but to really make them work, you have to either have a fantastic copywriter on in-house, or you have to be a fantastic copywriter, because to run like branding style ads in newspapers and on radio and stuff like that, the radios themselves and the newspapers themselves will tell you that if you want to get results, you have to do it for months and months and years and years. And that costs a lot of money versus things like SEO or things like SEO in combination with pay-per-click or something like that, and your map listings. Results can come quick, and like you said, you can get your cost per acquisition down dramatically, but you can get the results quickly. You don't have to be waiting. You don't have to be waiting 2 years of doing newspaper ads every single week, spending an absolute arm and a leg in the hopes that your phone might ring. I mean, right. I remember there was a local paper in the town where I'm from, where I was helping local businesses, and like they'd be running newspaper ads, and you'd ring them up and they'd actually tell you over the phone that you're not going to get any results for 12 to 15 months because you need repetitive every single week for 52 weeks. And then but local businesses who don't know any better will go, okay, well, I guess I better take out an ad for $5,000 a month for the next 12 months in the hopes, and in 12 months time, I may get a phone call. I mean, absolute nonsense. Whereas with something like SEO and like pay-per-click and things like that, you can know pretty quickly if you're getting traffic to your site, and you'll know pretty quickly if you're getting leads contacting you through your website and phone calls and everything else in between. So yeah, like it's not that the old way doesn't work. It's like it's that there's a faster way and there's a better way these days, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So a couple things.
It's like with the internet, we've got traceable data everywhere that we can triangulate this thing and say like, look, this is how many people came because of the ad. This is how many people bought. This is, we've got all of that data. Whereas it's a lot harder to do that with like a newspaper ad or even a TV commercial, stuff like that. So we're gifted with data, which helps for sure. Yeah. I have a lot of firms too that do all of that stuff in conjunction with their digital marketing campaign, and they do really well. So it's like,
yeah, when you combine both, I mean, it can be really huge. Like there's used to be this concept that I used to do with businesses that worked really well, which is like taking businesses from offline to online. So leveraging the asset, like you said, Nick. So leveraging that asset. So if you are doing radio, drive them to the website. If you are doing like newspaper, drive them to the website. If you're doing direct mail, drive them to the website. So when you take offline to online, it can work really well, but only when you have that asset created, like you're talking about. Otherwise, you're driving them to this thing that hasn't been updated in 5 years. They're going to like, well, is this business even still in business?
Right.
Versus with something like SEO, where you have fresh content, you have a fresh updated site that's constantly being fed the right nutrition. When people visit that site, they're like, okay, these guys are legit. They have a review from literally 2 hours ago. They've gotten a review, so they must be the real deal. Versus they have a review from 1976 and it looks like it was from their mother, and maybe I shouldn't be ringing this law firm because they don't even look legit. So so you were going to say, Nick, you were going to expand on the whole thing,
or kind of, Kellen took the words right out of my mouth in terms of attributing, each visitor. So even if you are offline, and like you guys said, it's not that you should stop that altogether, because I think there's a time and a place for everything. But the combination of online and offline is really a synergy that you can't get anywhere else, and it kind of puts everything together. And there's really explosive in the end, because, for example, if a firm is being searched by name, there's probably no greater trust signal to Google that this is a real firm that people are seeking out by name. So having those billboards with your name on it, they power SEO in a way and in part because people are searching for that firm by name. They see it on the road, they search for it on name, and then they go online. But then what Kellen said is spot on, that if you're taking people from offline, you better be bringing them online, because we can tag them, you can follow them around the internet. You can't do that in real life. You can't, stalk somebody that's seen your ad. Whereas online, you could
be a little bit weird if you did. If you were just like peeking around the corner.
By my stuff.
You ready yet? Gives a call.
Yeah. So that's, just the combination of online and offline, I think, is where it's at, not one or the other. But once these bigger firms, they're doing everything, that's why they are where they are. And that's why they're dominating search in so many ways, because they have all of these trust signals. They have multiple ways of getting clients, and people are seeing them everywhere. I guess that multiple touch approach as opposed to one or the other.
Yep, makes sense. So let's shift gears for a bit. So you mentioned something there about the bigger firms, but what if there's maybe a law firm that they're maybe not the biggest law firm in the world, but they still obviously have a capacity to do things like SEO and things like their map listings and everything else. Like, what are some of the things that they can be doing that will help them compete with the quote unquote bigger firms?
Yeah, we were just talking about this, and also, it's going to be a repeat of what Kellen's earlier answer. But Kellen, you want to talk about perhaps like the most recent client that you worked with?
Yeah. So just like a couple hours ago, I got off a phone call with a client. This is a perfect example. They're just starting out in the digital space. Personal injury attorney. They're in a pretty competitive market. There's people in the market that are spending 10, 20 times what they are every single month. And that was a question that they had for me in the beginning, like, how do we compete in this market? How do we compete with these guys? It's probably one of the most frequent questions that I get. It's like, how am I supposed to go up against these Goliaths that have $100,000 a month to spend? And there's creative ways that we can punch above our weight. And so that's where I usually start with. That is the map rankings, the local rankings that I was talking about before. Just because the gasoline for that engine is reviews, and reviews don't cost you anything but sweat equity. Like you're not paying for these reviews, you got to put in the elbow grease, go out and get them. It's a matter of how many you can get. It's not, there's not like a dollar amount attached to it or something like that. So that's a way that smaller firms can punch above
And so
weight.
like,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
and so something you mentioned in terms of like there was obviously a new client coming on, and that was one of the most common questions you get asked. Are there other, like, what are some of the other questions that you get asked, or maybe misconceptions that potential clients have when they're thinking about working with you? Like, are there other areas that they're asking, that a lot of things that crop up, or are there other areas of concern that generally come up that you can alleviate?
Hey, Kellen, if I could just
sure.
add to what you were saying and sort of answer John's, and then you can answer it.
Yeah.
The misconception about reviews is that it's all about the number of reviews. So even if you're a small firm and you're seeing like these bigger firms with hundreds and hundreds of positive reviews, and how could I possibly compete with that? So like they might hear Kellen say that, and their response might be, well, they have hundreds of reviews already. I'm never going to get there. It's going to take me years to get there.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that Google values the consistency and the timing of reviews more so than the quantity right now. So they'll show someone, even if they have only 30 reviews compared to 500, they'll show somebody that's been getting them every week over somebody that hasn't gotten a review for a couple of months. So that's a very powerful thing that we saw with someone in New Orleans, that their rankings are climbing in the organic side in the background, but they wanted leads now. So Kellen has implemented this kind of like challenge in the office where they're counting reviews, they're giving out prizes for the most reviews obtained. So it's a process in the office. And now, Kellen, what was the results out of that just in the first month of them implementing the process?
So January is when they implemented it, and they got about 20 reviews in January, 22, something like that, and almost tripled the call volume. And it's all from like really good stuff too. So they were around like 10 to 12 calls per month, something like that, from the Google Maps. And in January, the final number isn't in yet. It'll probably be a couple days before I get that, but it's around 36 right now calls. So they tripled the calls basically. And we can attribute it to searches like truck accident lawyer, car accident lawyer, motorcycle accident lawyer, not people searching for the firm or, somebody looking for directions. These are people that are searching organic terms like that and finding this firm because of this review onslaught and because of the setup that we did in the beginning too. It's twofold. It's not.
That's incredible. I mean, like triple call volume is no joke. I mean, like that, like they should be jumping up from joy right now and like trying to lock you in on a long-term contract.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's like, I love those calls where we get to celebrate like that. It was amazing. They were ecstatic. I was ecstatic. It was awesome. Yeah. So I was like, just keep the reviews coming and let's keep those numbers going up, and they will.
Brilliant.
We have to keep everything buttoned up on our end. So everything's got to be optimized properly. We've got, unique descriptions written for everything. We've built local citations. Like, we're doing all the legwork on the back end too, to make that happen. It's not like you can just wake up, start getting reviews and this all happens. There's other things at play too, but for the client's sake, it's all about reviews. Like that should be their number one goal. And it's not just like ranking them and converting them into callers too. It's like, it's not just ranking them, it's converting people into callers too. So people see those good reviews and they're more likely to call you as well. So like getting you in the map pack, getting you in the top 3 is one thing, but getting them to call you instead of the other 2 guys that are there is another. So that's where the reviews help you out as well. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
do you want to add to that, Nick?
I might have lost the original question, but there's the 3 main services that we provide are Google Ads management, PPC management, maps rankings, and organic rankings. And there's the 3 of them are very different in terms of different solutions depending on your goals and what you're trying to achieve. Like where, a more seasoned firm, they have leads coming in already from various sources, so they don't need business right now. Then, they can invest in their SEO, their organic SEO, long term, and over time it'll be an engine that just continues to drive business to them. So that's kind of like the long term play, which is organic SEO. The intermediate to intermediate is the maps rankings, like Kellen was just talking about. Whereas like a firm might not have that much money, or they don't want to risk. Obviously, they don't want to risk as much up front. That would be maps. Let's get you some organic leads right away, and that would be the most cost effective way to do it. Whereas another firm might want leads now and they have the money, then it would be Google Ads. There's no better product out there than Google Ads, but it'll cost you every visitor, basically. So it just depends on what you're looking to do and what your story is, what your goals are, and we'll tailor a solution around that.
It's really it's a really smart and intuitive approach to like local marketing as a whole, like to tackling for the people that have the capacity, they want the speed of leads, and they have the capital to invest. Something like Google Ads, obviously we're super familiar with Google Ads in the agency. It's what we run for clients as well. And like you said, you get the speed, but you have to pay for it, and sometimes you have to pay handsomely for it if you're in a competitive space. But it doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means you have to have the economics in your business to be able to withstand the extra cost. Then things like maps, I do want to dive a little bit deeper into the map side of things in a second, just so to help clients understand like the ins and outs of that. But obviously the map listings is huge. When people search, they see the magic listings or whatever it's called. And like there's the high probability that if you're in that listing, like they're going to be at least visiting your site, and if they like what they see in the site, they're going to reach out and contact you. And then the long-term approach, which admittedly I've definitely ignored for the most part in my entrepreneurial career, and like to detriment. I mean, like it is something that is hugely influential when you have your SEO done properly. So I think that 3-pronged approach is super, super smart, and there's no wonder you're getting your clients amazing results. So kudos. So like I said, I do want to dive a little bit deeper into the maps listings, and then I want to talk about your process for when clients reach out to you and how they can get started with you. Map listings, like, are there certain things that you need to, is it just as simple as setting up your map listing and away you go, or are there certain things that you need to do or need to have in place in your map listings, or like have you like, without going into sharing your secret sauce completely, like, but is there certain things that you do that maybe other guys don't do?
Yeah, so investing, I mean, so I guess what I would say is like, what we do that I don't think anybody else is doing is taking the time to talk our clients through the best way for them to get more reviews. Like how do we help them get what they need? So there's things that we help them implement. Like I helped this firm in New Orleans get started this game within the office, like to see who could get the most reviews. So it's more of like a consultant role at that point, consulting them on like how to most effectively go about that part, because that's what directly pertains to them is the getting of the reviews, giving them the tools that they need. There's tools like Bird Eye and Connect and different services, softwares out there that you can use to help you get reviews. I think Bird Eye came out with a statistic that 60% of people don't leave a review until the third attempt that you reach out to them. So,
Wow.
A lot of people lose reviews just by reaching out once. They need to reach out at least 3 times, or they're missing out on a good 60% of the potential.
I'd hazard a guess that most firms don't even reach out once, never mind 3 times.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So like getting them all that knowledge and getting them set up as like a consultant almost is like something that we offer, and I go into great detail and get very intimate with clients on. So that's first and foremost. But there is a lot of other stuff that we do, behind the scenes too, to make it all work. Like I was talking about local citations, for instance, just getting iterations of their name, address, and phone number. It's called your NAP score. getting those placed on, as many different business directories and things like that around the area as we possibly can is important to just send that signal that this is a legit business. They're listed on all these other sites, so they're an authority, so you should promote them for the subject matter in question. So yeah. And there's, countless other things. There's so many things on the Google business profile that a lot of people just leave blank. There's so many categories and descriptions and things like that a lot of business owners will sort of set up, like you said, and just, I'll check this box, I'll fill this out, but I don't really want to fill that out. That'll take too much time. And they kind of pick and choose things.
I'll copy and paste this from my website and it'll do. And it's just like,
exactly. Yeah. You gotta fill it out. It's gotta be unique. It's gotta be, it's got to be useful content at the end of the day. Like, it has to be useful to the user. And so we take a lot of time and put a lot of effort into creating unique and useful content for all of those fields. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll give three things, maybe three nuggets I think that are super important for the Google business profile. Number one is knowing what you want to rank for, and then looking at the ones that are already ranking and copying their categories. And not overdoing it, but having 3 to 5 categories that are super relevant to you. But that primary category needs to be what the other ranking sites are using for those terms.
Okay.
So getting the categories right, like 3 to 5 super relevant ones, but the main one being the one that Google is saying, like, these sites are in this category and this is relevant to this term, so you better be in that category as well as your main category. Yeah. Number 2 is you can use something called Bright Local and do a quick scan. It's a free scan to see if your name, address, and phone number, your NAP, is consistent around the internet. So a lot of times, and this is like a big problem that people have, is that it's not consistent. It'll have different phone numbers, different versions of their name, different versions of the address. So you want to get that all cleaned up and consistent throughout around the internet, and consistent with what Google has on the Google business profile. So if they list the address a certain way, do it exactly like that. Like, don't do it like what you think people will search or how you locally have the address or something like that. It's what Google has as the address, and the way it's spelled out is the way that you want to have it everywhere. And the third one, this is a little bit of advanced, is to get a good number of mentions, citations, but not link citations, but mentions of your NAP around the internet, is to include that at the bottom of a press release. So if you post a press release that gets distributed to hundreds and hundreds of really high authority news sites, and it'll have your name, address, and phone number in the body of that press release at the very bottom, exactly as it appears in your Google business profile. That's showing Google over hundreds of times mentions of your brand, of your name, address, and phone number. It's just increasing these trust signals to Google to say that this is a real business. They're really located there. This is their real phone number. And these days it's all about EAT, EEAT, and improving your trust and expertise and authority within Google. That's pretty much everything in terms of Google's ranking algorithm is trust these days. So that's the third thing that I would say in terms of if somebody wanted to start improving their Google Maps rankings.
Yeah, those the first 2 nuggets were fantastic, but that last nugget is like it's a ninja nugget right there, and I think like that's really, really smart. So let's say I'm a law firm and I'm interested in getting this done. I don't want to do it myself. I understand the power of it. I understand like that this is what I need to do to drive my business forward. Those 3 things. I want the fast speed of AdWords. I want the maps listing, and I also want the long-term growth as well from an SEO. And I reach out to you guys, what's the process of signing up as a client with you guys? Like, what's the whole journey like, and what are my options then?
Yeah. Great question. So I'm going to start by saying, why do you want to do AdWords? Why do you want to do map rankings? Why do you want to do organic SEO? To try and understand where your mind's at. Like, yeah, you say you want to do all those things, but let's see if that really aligns with what you want. with what's going to bring you the most, business today, tomorrow, 6 months from now. Also, like, do you have the budget to back that up? Can you invest in SEO month after month for a year? Can you invest in a PPC campaign continuously? Those types of things. There's a lot of follow-up questions that I would have for you there to really iron out our game plan. But that's the goal, is like, come up with a game plan that's going to be right for you, for your budget, for what you're looking for, so that when we're sitting down together a year from now, we're celebrating and not going, okay, where did we go wrong? Right. So there's a lot of discovery that goes into it. And that's kind of where we start. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. It's just kind of like trying to figure out where your head's at, why you think that you should be doing what you think you should be doing. One of the things that I run into a lot is that a lot of attorneys think that they know how people find them on the internet. They think they know what people are searching, and they're usually way off. It's crazy. There's a lot of different iterations of terms and stuff like that people are using to find an attorney if you've been in an accident, or if you've got a criminal matter or a family matter, no matter what it is. So that's kind of phase 2, is like getting into the research a little bit. Let's identify the right terms that we need to attack. And then we're going to start, building content around those terms, video content, written content, obviously, for the website and for everything else. And then we kind of go, it just kind of goes from there, down all these different rabbit holes, to get everything set up properly. So content is where you start, once we know what we're attacking. But then we move to get the ads set up right away, so that we're running PPC right out of the gate, because that's kind of like the faucet that you turn on and off to get some leads coming right away. And then we get the local stuff fired up. And that's going to be like a little bit more down the road, like a month or two to get that going. And then the organic stuff, down the road. And that's where you really drive down the cost per acquisition that I was talking about before, is the long game, the SEO game. Like our client in New York City, for instance, I've been working with him for 7 years now. And he's been ranked in the top 3 for New York City car accident lawyer, or NYC car accident lawyer. And so like over the span of time that we've been working together, which is longer than I've been at Apricot Law, it's over a decade, the cost per acquisition for him just keeps going down and down and down the longer he ranks for that term. So wow. I want to get you to see the big picture when we first start working together, when we first meet. I want you to see that vision of like, this isn't for the short term. This is a long game here. So it's important that we have those conversations early on too. Yeah.
Okay. So, would you add anything to that, Nick?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so step by step. To answer your question, like from when they hear about Apricot Law and that we could possibly help them solve a problem that they're having, or a challenge that they're having, or help them get to where they want to go, is they schedule a call, and we have Megan Cronteris will do right now. She's the one doing the meet and greet calls. That's the first touch point, and she'll probably ask you, a year from now, if this all goes like super success, if it's really successful, the campaign is as good as it could be, where do you see us? What do you see us celebrating? So then we'll get your kind of goals, and we'll see if there's a fit to move on to the next stage, which is getting on a call with Kellen, which is like our strategy call, which is so we have a brief discovery call, we call a meet and greet, and then we'll have a strategy call. And then if there's a fit and we want to move forward, most of our clients come on an exclusive basis. So you'll sign on with us, and we'll be the only ones working on your campaign, or rather you'll be the only client for us in that area, in that practice area and geographic location. So we won't take on any other, like if it's a personal injury firm, we won't take on another personal injury firm in your area, so that we can, we want to.
That's a massive value.
Yeah, we want to be on your side. We can't really, it's a bit of a conflict of interest if we have other people that we're trying to rank for the same terms in the same market. And we're an advocate for you. We're an advisor, a trusted advisor for these firms. So we either we're going to win together or not, but it's going to be exclusively. So the different options for us are, if you need a new website, we have an option where you can pay over time, and it comes out to like $5.99 a month over the course of 24 months. You own all the content and all the website assets once it's paid. I know other agencies hold that stuff hostage, and the law firms don't actually own their website, which is just ludicrous to me.
Yeah, bananas.
Yeah, I don't understand it. They come to us and they don't even own the site that they have been paying for or working on for a long time with these other agencies. So we have a plan where you can pay for the website over time, because we want you to put that money into where it's the most impactful, which is getting you traffic as soon as possible. Like if you're spending 20 grand up front on a website, if you have it, that's fine. But we want you to save your money so that it's going into the most impactful things, which in our eyes, it's getting you opportunities and seeing how many of these opportunities you can close. What's your intake system like? So that, once you sign on for either, SEO or maps rankings or Google Ads, we're going to come in and we're going to look at your intake system to make sure that there are no holes. It's our kind of a bottom up approach of, making sure that if we're sending you traffic, that you're actually answering these calls and answering the phone when people call, because you believe it or not, there's like so many people leave it up to an answering service or to a receptionist that's saying the wrong thing, turning people off, not picking up
Not
the
even
phone
answering the phone in the first place.
Correct. So we want to make sure that the bucket has no holes in it before we start putting water in it.
Absolutely.
So to speak. So that's the very first thing we do with the client after we've onboarded them, is we're looking at their systems to make sure that they're taking on these calls properly. To talk about a little bit about each of these services, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Google Ads just a little bit, because it's a story about how we found our PPC person and team that we turn to for all of our PPC stuff and Google Ads. We were working with a multi-state law firm out in the Mountain West, and we were doing the SEO, and this person was doing their PPC, and we haven't come across anyone that's as successful as this person in terms of driving leads and tracking everything and knowing the numbers in terms of ROI and cost per acquisition. And Derek is just the best person we've ever come across.
Apart from me, obviously.
In that world. Yeah, we haven't used you yet for Google AdWords, but you're probably right. For Facebook ads, you guys have been absolutely phenomenal.
So Derek is the guy who's running your PPC? Sorry to jump in.
He's our partner with PPC for law firms, and running all of our PPC campaigns for our clients. And the best part about Derek is he's your partner. If you sign on with us for Google Ads, he's calling you and saying like, "Hey, did you see that lead that just came in? Like, what's the deal there? And did you call them back? And
did you close them yet?
Yeah, did you close them yet?" So he's putting pressure on you a little bit to make sure that your stuff is buttoned up, because if you're not closing these leads, then the relationship is not going to be successful in the end. Obviously, like
100%. Yeah.
It has nothing to do with like rankings or leads. It's all about, at the end of the day, how much money you're bringing in from these activities. So he'll be texting you, calling you, and making sure that the leads that we sent you are good and that they're being handled properly. And if they're not good, he wants to know, like, hey, what about it wasn't good? What do we need to change in the ads campaign so that we're sending you the perfect client for you? And his results are just phenomenal. He does it better than we ever did it internally, PPC. So we acquired his talents, and happy to say that he's a part of the team. So that's for the Google Ads and PPC. For the SEO is really where Apricot SEO and maps rankings is really where Apricot's core strength. And I'll say this, that no other agency will put as much money back into your site as we will. So if you come to us, a certain percentage of your budget that is spent with us is going to go back into your site each and every month, kind of like website nutrition and building that asset for you. So whereas other agencies, maybe they're taking a lot of it as profit, maybe you don't know where the money is going. But the most impactful things you can do for SEO are high quality links, other publications that are talking about you. Like recently, we were just featured in USA Today. Apricot Law was. So that type of link, getting a site like USA Today to link to you, although it's costly, it's super high quality, and it'll help your rankings for years. Wow. So because Google, as long as it's live, Google will see it as a trust signal. So high quality links, high quality content, and high quality technical SEO, like on-page SEO, making sure that the code on your site is perfect on the back end, telling Google exactly what you're all about and what they should be ranking you for. So those, when I say that the money that you're giving us, I don't think there's another agency out there, I'm pretty sure of it, that's going to put the majority of the biggest percentage of that spend back into your website. So at the very least, you're building an asset over time, as getting that website nutrition. And in terms of Google Maps rankings, if you sign on for that, it's what we've been talking about here, is getting those processes into your office, so that you're getting reviews on a regular basis. And we'll do everything we can on the back end to help you in terms of optimizing that Google business profile. But we want to make sure that you're getting those reviews. So that was a long-winded answer, but
no, it's a great answer. And look, and I can
all the way through. That's
I can say, being on the outside looking in and helping you guys, helping personal injury law firms find you guys as well. I can say that, like, when we're doing our weekly calls and we're looking at our numbers, like, it always starts from like the quality of the people that you're speaking to, and like you go all in to help these people. And it's clear to see that the reason why your clients are staying for as long as they are is because the results are there to show. Like, you guys are legit. You're producing amazing results. Some of your case studies are incredible. Like, to be, what you say, like 7 years ranking, 10 years ranking for that term, to even have clients staying with you 10 years and 7 years is phenomenal. It just shows you how good you are. So, I mean, I love working with you guys. I think you're doing fantastic stuff, and I kind of wish I knew more personal injury law firms so I could actually get them over to you as well, because, I mean, you're doing incredible stuff. So
just keep doing what you're doing, bud. We think that you're the best at what you do as well. So,
well, I appreciate that.
John, if I will, I want to also say that just ideally speaking, if we were to, snap our fingers and we got like everything we wanted out of a client, just bullet point and kind of like long story short is Greenstein Milbauer's story from when they came on to where they are now, where they were running these like super annoying little rapping squirrel TV commercials, which were effective, were effective. But they were only running these commercials in New York City, and they weren't doing anything online. And Rob Greenstein came to us and he said that I know that the future is online. I have to be online in the next 10 years or so, because, this stuff is going to kind of go away and everything is going online. So from where he was then to just ranking for a couple of terms, moving from offline to online, to now where he's opened up, 5 or 6 different offices around Manhattan, so that he is a true authority in Google's eyes, because he has all of these trust signals that we've built up with him over time, where they're looking at Google will look at the firm and say, of course we're going to rank them in all of New York City. They have, offices all throughout the boroughs. Each one of those offices, each one of those Google business profiles is getting reviews on a regular basis. They have, tremendous trust signals where other sites are linking to them over time, consistently over and over again. So I guess it depends on the how big the firm wants to get. You know, if they want to dominate the area, that's the formula. Just building up these assets over time that show Google that you are truly the authority in that space, and you can't really fake that. And it takes time, but it's not like an overnight thing. Like, hey, you know, I'm going to make you an authority in 30 days. It just doesn't work that way. So there are different products for different goals and objectives, but at the end of the day, it's like a long-term process of building you into an authority figure in your space.
And the best way for people to find you is simply just go to apricotlaw.com.
That's correct. Apricotlaw.com is the website.
Brilliant. Well, guys, this has been super informative. Really love chatting to you. Exciting stuff. And like I said, I wish I knew some personal injury law firms. Thankfully, I don't, because I haven't had any incidents that I need one. But right. Yeah, I mean, like I'm excited working with you guys. I know you're doing fantastic things, and you're going to continue to do so. And like, if there's anyone out there that is watching this that is in your market, that is a personal injury law firm, regardless of what size they are, you need to be working with these guys. I mean, like, that's just a reality. There's no way in any universe that you have clients staying with you for 10 years if you're not absolute machines at what you do. So kudos to you guys, and super informative. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for everything, John.
Appreciate it. Thank you.